G'day guys, this is Tyrone and welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. This one's a little special to me personally. This is a feature suggestion that I'm giving to Bethesda. I'm not claiming this idea to be mine, as I'm sure heaps of other people have had this thought at one point or another. But I'm going to be hopefully giving the community a voice with this suggestion, and hopefully Bethesda will hear me out on this one and take steps to revitalise the nuke silo system for us endgame players and make the whole process a whole lot less tedious and rudimentary. Let's get into it. So at its core, this feature suggestion is what I'm calling the Nuke-Launch Mastercard, and what it will do is speed up that nuke silo launch process for us endgame players. But before I get into the specifics of why I think this should be added and how it should work, I feel I should first explain the flawed system that is the nuke silo. So let's begin there. It is long, it is tedious, it is a waste of time, it is uninspired, and it is boring. Especially if you've gone through it as many times as I have. I'm sure a large amount of endgame players easily have over 100 nuke launches under their belt at this point. Hell, some probably have launched thousands of nukes in their time. I know for a fact that I, myself, have launched a couple hundred in my long time playing this game. And I know I'm not alone here when I say that it is painful, it is not fun, and it is regimented to the point where most endgame players look at it as a chore instead of a fun experience that will then lead to a boss fight or a flux farming session, or whatever the reason it is that they are launching. Sure, the system works and the silo is challenging if you're a new player and you've either never launched a nuke before or you've launched enough that you could count it on one hand. Sure, you new players won't see this problem yet, but trust me when I say that you will. If you get to the point that myself and other endgame players are at, you will recognize the tedious nature of the nuke silo, and you will see it as a huge hoop to jump through. From the first steps of finding the keycard in the first room to get past that grid laser, to the irradiated room where you must turn off the valves, to the part where you must destroy some mainframe cores, to the end where you've got to craft and replace different mainframe cores, and then finally where you must wait upwards of 6 minutes for the nuke robots to get into position. Even if you lockpick a door to speed it all up, it is a process that is tiresome at this point, and it has led to a lot of players abusing all kinds of glitches to bypass the starting areas of the nuke silo. And let's be honest here, these glitches are things that nobody wants to get patched. I don't want these things to get patched, because if they do, then the nuke drop rate per server would become abysmal, and I would personally not be dropping nukes all too often. What I'm trying to say here is that it is proven that almost every single player that launches nukes actually does it illegitimately with these glitches. And that's okay. That just shows how tiresome we as a community, we as a player base, are of this tedious system. We want the process to be sped up for us because we deserve it. As endgame players, we should be able to launch nukes quicker to do the endgame events that we actually want to do. Which brings me to my next point and why I've thought of this whole system. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine if Bethesda did fix all of the nuke silo bypass glitches. We would be fucked, like I said, and the nuke launch rate would drop. But what I'm about to suggest would actually make doing these glitches pointless. What I'm about to suggest with this Nuke-Launch Mastercard idea would mean that we would no longer need to rely on the glitches to get a nuke silo done fast. So therefore, it wouldn't matter if they eventually got patched, because we would have this new system. The way I envision this Nuke-Launch Mastercard idea working is simple. A player would only gain access to it after they've earned it, after they've met some requirements. So let's say that the player would have to have launched something along the lines of 25, maybe 50 nukes on a single character to qualify for this Mastercard. And then once they have launched that 25th or 50th, that final nuke, that last nuke requirement, then they would have to do a final quest for Modus. We would have to connect Modus up to all the silos itself, because after all, I'm sure the Enclave weren't expecting you to just launch a single nuke and be done with their quest line. If you really think about it, it doesn't make all that much sense for the Enclave quest line to just end as it does, with you launching a single nuke. No, the way I picture this whole thing working is that you will have to launch a whole bunch of nukes, whatever that number may be, and at some point you will have to directly connect Modus with all three of the nuke silos themselves so that Modus would have direct access. And once this is done, once you have grinded for all of this to happen, the player will have earned the Mastercard that can be fabricated and created by Modus. Now, I think the Mastercard should be untradeable and should be character bound to the character that actually earned this card, because after all, you jumped through all of those hoops and everything on that character, so we wouldn't want something like this being traded to just anyone. But anyways, once the Mastercard is in your inventory and has been earned, the player will simply just be able to walk straight through every single obstacle that previously plagued us. All of the laser grids will be open to us automatically from now on, all previously locked terminals and doors will be openable and passable via the Mastercard, including the bulkhead doors where you have to find or create mainframe cores to advance to the final room. So the player could just simply walk past every room with no hurdles, just simply go from the starting elevator straight to the end launch room. And once you are here, if the player does have the Mastercard and has done everything, the whole waiting for the robots to get to their station minigame thing will be either automatically completed or significantly quickened. I'm not too sure what should happen there yet, whether it should just be auto-completed or just quickened like I said, but yeah, that's a bit of feedback that I would appreciate you giving me. But either way, it is going to be faster if you have the Mastercard. And then finally, if you have the Mastercard, you will be able to launch a nuke without the need for a code. You simply just swipe the Mastercard in the receptacle, which will not consume the Mastercard for obvious reasons, and then you are free to launch the nuke wherever you desire. I think this idea is absolutely brilliant for the health of the game. I think it's also important to elaborate on the fact that this would not ruin or even affect the nuke launch experience for new players. Obviously, you will only get this special treatment of bypassing the whole nuke silo if you have actually earned that Mastercard. The players that have not earned it will still have to complete the silo like normal and grind for said Mastercard down the line. Obviously, these players won't be able to just follow along and benefit from the player that does have the Mastercard, as these players that have not earned the Mastercard will still be barred entry through each and every laser grid until the minigame in that room is completed. So yeah, hopefully that puts any concerns to rest. It is something to work towards, and by no means is it easy to acquire, but when you do get your hands on the Mastercard, it is actually worth it. You can let go a sigh of relief and know that the grinding was actually worth it for such an amazing quality of life item. And like I said at the start and throughout this video, I feel that this would be something that only the endgame players could even have the possibility to earn and use, as we do deserve. This would also, like I said, make the nuke bypass glitches obsolete, since the Mastercard would be significantly faster overall anyway, and therefore it would not matter if all remaining nuke bypass glitches got patched out, because there would now be a legit way to go through this a lot faster. And it would be a way for Bethesda to show that they do take fan criticism and feedback seriously, as well as showing that they are always willing to change existing systems for the betterment of the game as it does evolve for its players. As doing this would not fundamentally change the way nukes are launched to begin with or the process to begin launching nukes. Think of it as simply something to work towards, something the player can put a large amount of effort into and get an equally large reward out for your efforts. I think that the player should, as said previously, launch a large number of nukes, be that 25 or possibly more, maybe 50, 75, who knows. And then additionally, after that's done, the player should progress the Enclave storyline and fully link Modus in some fashion to all 3 nuke silos. And then, after that's done, Modus will gift the player with the Mastercard. I think all of this is the only acceptable, natural progression for this system, to reward the player for his or her efforts, and the reward being that you no longer have to trudge through the entirety of a nuke silo on that character ever again once this card is earned. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. If you agree with me or disagree for whatever fucking reason, then I'd love to know why. So be sure to leave your feedback down below and share this video around if you would like this sort of thing to be added. A massive shout out to all my current Patreons. Thank you all so much for your continued support on the channel. If you'd like to have your name at the end of each video and some other cool bonuses, then be sure to check that out in the description down below, along with my other social medias. And be sure to subscribe and like the video if you did enjoy. I've been Tia, and I'll catch us in the next one. Welcome to Valhalla.